Hey friend, and welcome back to Elaborations with Skellington Grin. I'm Ava, and I am here as your resident goth witch big sis, ready to get real with you about the stuff that we often avoid. The fears, the doubts, and yes, the ways we sabotage ourselves. And in today's episode, we're going to get real. We're going to get a little raw. We're going to get a little punchy. Because today we're diving into honesty, self-reflection, and the importance of taking that first brave step towards showing up fully in our lives. And I'm going to preface by saying that I know, it has been a hot minute since I have done an episode. Yet again, I took a little break. But I want to say that part of that break was because of some things happening in my life, both positive and maybe not so positive changes, but also because I really had to sit myself down recently and ask myself the following tough questions. Question number 1. Where am I still self-sabotaging? Question number 2. What am I actually avoiding? And question number 3. What can I change right now? Those were some hard questions to ask myself and some hard things to really reflect on. Because at 30, you often wish that you were a little bit further along in your journey than maybe you were last year. And I had to also recognize that that was self-sabotage because I was looking at my journey and feeling like I was too far behind. And that's another story for another time, but that was also part of the self-sabotage. But what really came up for me was that I realized that my phone was becoming more of a shiny little distraction and less of a tool for creation, especially when it came to social media. I was using it to avoid things. I was doom scrolling. I was numbing myself. I was reading too much of the news on social media. Pick your poison. I was sipping it. And along with that, I realized an even bigger, scarier truth that I was so reluctant to admit that it made me stubborn and a little bullheaded. I was afraid of being both visible and invisible at the same time. Now, follow me, because I'm getting to a really good point. On one hand, I was afraid that people wouldn't resonate with me because I'm goth, I'm witchy, I talk about spirituality, and that can be a whole lot of niche. But I realized that there were other people out there like me that I already follow that are some of my favorite creators. So why am I so afraid of being part of that niche? And on the other hand, I was also afraid of visibility itself. Because deep down, especially in recent years, I have experienced a lot of fear that was tangled up with my self-worth. Fear that if I put myself out there, people would confirm my worst suspicion. Either that I wasn't enough or that I was too much. Too goth, too edgy, too weird, too eclectic, too underexperienced compared to some of the other creators that are doing some of the same things and are also goth. And I'm like, why am I comparing to other people, first off? And two, why am I not looking at those creators as inspiration and I'm looking at them instead as competition? And the other thing that it brought up was, why am I so afraid that I'm not going to be enough for the masses when I would rather be enough simply just for my niche? Light bulb moment there, ladies and gentlemen. And theydies and gentle thems. But here's the thing. I had to realize that I will not grow if I keep avoiding. And spoiler alert, neither will you. So getting to the meat and potatoes of today's episode, we're going to start with talking about self-sabotage. And self-sabotage often hides in plain sight. Self-sabotage is not always dramatic. It's not just procrastinating or missing deadlines or ghosting opportunities. Sometimes it is scrolling instead of creating, or saying, I'll do it tomorrow, or telling yourself that you'll start something whenever you feel ready. Spoiler alert. I know I've said spoiler alert twice now, but you will never feel truly ready. And if you wait for that ready moment to come, it's going to pass you by. A lot of people don't like to hear that, but it is the honest to the gods truth. And I say gods because I know some people might tune into this podcast and they might be Christian. Some might be Wiccan. Some might be Hellenic pagan. Some might be Norse pagan. I don't care what your denomination is. You are more than welcome to sit at my table because I am an eclectic witch anyway. But the big thing that we do when we are waiting for that moment when we are ready is that we are delaying the inevitable. And the inevitable fact is that we want to make a change. We look at ourselves, we look at our circumstances, we get up, we look in the mirror, and we say, I want to make a change. But we expect that change to come from outside of ourselves. Oftentimes we expect that something external is going to motivate us or inspire us or tell us to get up off of our lazy butts. And really, what happens when we expect something outside of us to give us all of that motivation, that inspiration, that jolt of adrenaline, that endorphin rush, whatever it is that is going to kick us into high gear? We're waiting around and waiting around and waiting around for something that's never going to come. What we need to do is we need to sometimes be okay with doing something anyway. Not trying, but doing. And it doesn't have to be monumentous. It can be something small as changing one habit. And we're going to talk about habits in another episode, but this is kind of a little bit of a teaser to that episode, but also just kind of a little nudge to say that it doesn't have to be an overnight change to get us out of our self-sabotaging habits. It can be one small incremental thing that we can do every single day, such as making our bed or folding some laundry or anything that feels doable and is an easy win. And from there, we can move forward out of other self-sabotaging habits that are keeping us stuck. And another big thing, especially because we did mention the point about social media and scrolling. If we are people using social media for creativity, instead of using it for scrolling purposes, we can get a little bit better about maybe scheduling time for scrolling purposes. Scheduling a little bit of time in our day to be able to check in with other creators that we adore or look at recipes on Instagram, which is my favorite thing to do because I love to cook, or checking messages from our friends on Snapchat and WhatsApp and Telegram and whatever you have, and giving ourselves an allotted time frame to do that. But then if we understand that we want to create something, giving ourselves focused time to do that. whether that is writing podcast scripts, or it is updating your social media to put out a new reel or a new carousel post, or anything that's going to contribute to creativity. And this isn't to say that you should force the creativity. But if you understand that you are trying to be more of a creator than you are a doom scroller, work it incrementally into your personality and your mindset. Moving on to point number 2. Avoidance is not always just procrastination or truly avoidance. Avoidance is oftentimes simply comfort disguised as safety. And what happens when we avoid something, whether we're avoiding answering an email, answering a phone call, or avoiding doing a task, a house chore, a school project, an essay, writing an article, etc., so on and so forth. What happens is that our brains convince us that hiding protects us. But all it really does is keep us stuck. It keeps us cycling in this same loop of not getting anything done. It keeps us in this cycle of not moving forward. It's like we're running on a hamster wheel and we don't know how to get off because we keep saying, I need to run on the hamster wheel. I need to run on the hamster wheel. But we realize that we don't want to do that. We want to slow down. We want to stop and reevaluate and have a perspective change. We want to, I'm going to use a little tarot example here because I taught one of my friends some Tarot 101 this morning. We want to be less of the person running on the hamster wheel. And like in the tarot, we want to be the hanged man. And if you've ever seen the hanged man tarot card, it is a person, man usually, hence the name hanged man, hanging from a tree, suspended by their ankle. And they're looking at the world upside down. And when you look at the world upside down, you have a different perspective of the world than you do when you are right side up. You're able to see things from a different set of eyes. Yes, the world looks inverted because you're upside down, but sometimes that's the point. And the hanged man speaks of sudden change, speaks of perspective change, speaks of surrender, and asks you to pause and look around you. And that is the perfect card for when we are in this avoidance mindset. Because we can look to the hanged man and say, pause, surrender to the reality. What am I avoiding? What am I avoiding? What is around me that could actually be helpful? What is around me that's a hindrance? And how can I change my perspective in order to move forward in the way that I know is going to be the best way for me? Point number 3, the visibility paradox. And maybe you have felt this too. My visibility paradox, like I said, was a double-edged sword of being scared no one sees you and being scared simultaneously that people actually will. That tension is so heavy, but naming it takes its power away. And for me, the reason I felt the visibility paradox of being scared of being both visible and invisible is because I understand that there are other creators that are doing the same thing as me, that have more experience, that have been doing it a longer time. And I feel like No offense to these creators. I love you so much, really. But the reason I say no offense, and I know that probably is the worst way of putting this, but that's the only thing that's coming to mind. And I'm trying not to stumble over my words. But there really is no offense to them at all because I love these creators so much, but I was starting to see them in a way that they did not deserve. And I was starting to see them as competition. I was starting to see them as, oh, well, they've been doing it longer than me. They have better following. They have better presence. And they're going to get more of the followers. They're going to get more of the visibility. They're going to be pushed more on the algorithm. And I was like, okay, and? Like, I really had to ask myself, okay, and? You feel like you're not going to get to that point? The only way that you can get to that point is by being consistent. And stop being scared of people actually seeing you. But I think another reason why I was so scared of people actually seeing me is because somewhere along my journey, I had been told that I was too much. And I was always afraid of being too much, afraid of being too goth, too edgy, too weird. I've even had family members call me weird. And I'm like, look, I know I'm weird, but you're weird in your own way too. I'm weird because I like horror movies and vampires and goth stuff. But you're not weird for liking what you like. You're weird in your own way too. You're eclectic in your own way too. Shout out to my mom. My mom's weird as hell. And I say that with love. I really do. But my mom is weird. My mom is weird, not in a bad way. I know she's going to be like, you little bee. You're saying that I'm not weird in a bad way? Yes, I am. You're not weird in a bad way, Mom. But my mom is an adult in her early 50s. And she still loves Harry Potter so much that she has several Harry Potter Lego sets that she has built and put in a curio cabinet. Some people might find that weird. I find it endearing and charming because she is the reason I am also a big Harry Potter fan. Now, before y'all come at me, we're not going to have a discussion about the creator and their opinions. I still like reading those books sometimes. I still like watching those films. I still like engaging with Harry Potter stuff because to me, it still feels magical. It was something that I grew up on. It was something that gave me a place. And another way that I would say that my mom is a little bit weird is because she has her own little personality that, before I even came along, is very New Orleans. Very New Orleans. And we're from New Orleans originally. But she has her own little personality that's very New Orleans. And every time it comes out, it's probably one of the most endearing things that I will never tire of, even though I used to hate it as a teenager. I kind of did, because I would get compared to my mom so much, especially my voice, and people would think that they were talking to her when they were talking to me on the phone. But my mom has her little weird quirks. But that's another reason why she's one of my biggest heroes. So I just needed that little tangent about my mom. Little shout out to her. Mom, I love you. And if you listen to this podcast episode, we threw in a little love to you. Little love note to my mom. My weird mom who still likes practical magic, but likes Harry Potter more than I do. And I'm the opposite when it comes to practical magic. But Moving on to point number 4 before this turns into a completely different episode than what we started with. Point number 4, and probably my favorite topic point that I am going to talk about in this episode, is honesty as liberation. Getting real with yourself doesn't mean dragging yourself or other people. It means saying, okay, here is where I am at. Here is what I'm doing that's keeping me small, and here is one tiny thing that I can do differently today. So, adding another little personal anecdote. I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I used to start my day with making my bed, doing a meditation, doing yoga, waiting a little bit until it was about sunrise, going on a walk, coming back, taking a shower, journaling, eating breakfast, and then going about my day. That used to be my morning routine, and I used to love it. Then somewhere along the way, over the past, I want to say 2 years actually, over the past 2 years, or more like 3, I want to say it was more like 3. Over the past 3 years, including the 18 months that I was with someone that I allowed to make me feel small, I gave up on that. And then when I came out of that relationship, I tried to get that part of myself back, but it wasn't working out the way that I wanted it to. And I wasn't doing it to the extent that I really wanted to. And I had to ask myself, well, if this is something that I really enjoy, and these are tiny habits that really help to improve my mindset and improve the way that I feel going throughout my day, why am I not doing them? And then you know what I did this morning? I woke up at 5. I actually technically woke up at 4:45 a.m. That's what it said on my clock. A whole, I want to say about 20 minutes before my alarm actually went off. And I therefore turned off my alarm. I laid in bed for a couple minutes, just to kind of calibrate myself and just to kind of like really ground myself in my room and with the things that were around me. And then I said, okay, let's get up. Got up, changed my clothes, made my bed, turned on YouTube on my TV because I have the YouTube app on my smart TV, searched Breathe with Sandy, which is my favorite breathwork YouTube channel. Not sponsored, but I love that channel. I love Breathe with Sandy, and he has so many breathwork meditations for anxiety, for resetting your vagus nerve, and so much more. And I did one this morning. I did a 6-minute yoga with Bird. Again, not sponsored. I just really love yoga with Bird. And then waited for sunrise and went for that walk. And before I did that, I even created a schedule for myself, like a little weekly map for myself that I could color code and that I could put different abbreviations for the different tasks that I have at set times on that easy to read schedule. And I pinned it to my corkboard behind my bedroom door. I did all of that this morning. I was expecting to just do one thing, but something in me said, girl, get back to yourself. And getting back to yourself and getting real with yourself is sometimes doing all of that. And sometimes it's just doing the one thing, the one tiny change. And that makes all the difference. It doesn't have to be all of those steps that I took this morning. It can be one simple thing. But that simple thing creates a whole world of difference. And as we close this episode out, here is the truth that I'm holding close. And I want you to listen to this and maybe adopt it for yourself. I will not grow if I continue avoiding myself and the world around me, even when it's scary to be myself in that world. And spoiler alert, third spoiler alert of the episode, neither will you. And I say that with all of the love in my heart for you. Because I don't want to see you sabotage yourself. And if you're here listening to this podcast, you're focused on growth. And I am so happy that you are. So instead of running from who we are, instead of running from those things keeping us stuck, let's anchor in today's takeaways with the following. And feel free to grab a notebook and write any of this down. Today's affirmation is, I am brave enough to face what I have been avoiding, and I am gentle enough to grow through it. I am brave enough to face what I have been avoiding, and I am gentle enough to grow through it. Today's journal prompt. Where am I still sabotaging myself? And what truth am I avoiding that I need to face? Where am I still sabotaging myself? And what truth am I avoiding that I need to face? And my challenge for you this week is to choose one small action that breaks or hinders or inhibits your sabotage pattern. Just one. Maybe it's posting that one thing that you've been afraid to share. Maybe it's reaching out to someone that you've been avoiding. Or maybe it's finally sitting down with that project that you have meant to do for a long time. But the biggest part of this challenge is that I want you to make it doable. Make it real. And let it be your first crack in the wall of avoidance. And as always, if you love this episode, go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And share it with a friend who might need this reminder too. If you want all of the skinny on the full behind the scenes of my world, come hang out with me on Instagram at Skellington Grin Creatrix, or check the description for all of the links to my socials, tarot readings, and other witchy wisdom. Until next time, stay brave, stay tender, and remember, facing your truth is the first step to setting yourself free. I'll see you next time. Bye.